Hey there, how are you today? Good to see you, my friends. Hey, I have a question for you today. Do you like surprises? Well, mostly good surprises. Do you like surprises like birthday party surprises? That's why I have my birthday hat on here. Birthday gifts, or just regular gifts that somebody has surprised you with? Yeah, those are the kind of surprises I'm sure that you like. What about surprises that you weren't expecting that might like scary? Yeah, we're not too big of fans of scary surprises. But what about life-changing surprises? Have you ever had anything happen that you didn't expect that changed your life? Well, if you've been watching these videos in order, you know that we've been talking about faith from Hebrews chapter 11, where it says this: faith is being sure of what we hope for, it is being sure of what we do not see. Faith is believing that what God says He will do will happen. Faith is believing like this, that God made the earth, even if we weren't there to see it happen. Faith is believing that there's orange soda in this can, even if we can't see it. Well, two people mentioned in Hebrews chapter 11, Abraham and Sarah. Now, we talked about Abraham the last video. Today, we talk about his wife, Sarah. In Hebrews chapter 11, it says this: Sarah had faith. God made it possible for her to become a mother, even though she was too old to have children. But Sarah believed that the God who made the promise was faithful. Abraham was also past the time when he could have children, but many children came from this one man and woman. They were as many as the stars in the sky, they were as many as the grains of sand, and no one could count them. Abraham and Sarah received a surprise from God, and it was not a birthday party surprise, but it was the promise that at an old age they would have a child. And you can find that story in Genesis chapter 17 and 18. And it's a long story, so we're not going to tell it all today. But basically, God came to Abraham and he said, "You and Sarah will have a child. You will be blessed. I want you to believe this. Nations will come from your son that I am going to give you." The specifics of this visit are like this: there were some men that came to visit Abraham, they were messengers from God. They could have been angels, but they appeared like men. And the scripture in Genesis 17 and 18 says this: they were sitting near a tree with Abraham. And one of them said, "Where is Sarah?" And Abraham said, "She's over in the tent." Then another one said, "We will return next year, and your wife Sarah will then have a son." Sarah was listening to the conversation in the tent. And she heard them say this, and she said to myself, "I'm too old to have a baby, and so is Abraham. We're too old to have a baby." And she laughed. Oh, she thought, "I'm worn out, and my husband is too old. How are we going to have babies or a baby?" And the men said, "Why did Sarah laugh?" They heard her laugh, even though she didn't think they did. And they said, "Is anything too hard for us? Is anything too hard for God? If God is in it, it will happen." So Sarah and Abraham then believed that God's promise could come true. And it did. And we're going to talk a bit in another video about their son Isaac, who was the promise that God gave to them. Now, have you ever been surprised by God? You may have been surprised by a birthday party. You may have been surprised by a gift. But do you remember ever having been surprised by God? Do you think that God can surprise us? Well, maybe God has surprised us. What about when you have accomplished something that you never thought you could do? Like maybe a medal at Special Olympics, or some other prize, or some other competition or game that you won that you never thought you could do. Or maybe going somewhere that you never thought you would ever visit, like the Grand Canyon or Disneyland, or swimming with dolphins, or some of those things that maybe you never thought you could do, but you did. Well, maybe, just maybe, those were God's surprises for you. Yeah, I've been places too in my life that I never thought I would be or visit. or have done some things I never thought I would do. And they were sort of like God's surprises in our lives. We had a trip to Alaska a couple years ago that was a very good surprise for us. I never thought it would happen in my lifetime, but it did. So some of those things, God is in them, and He's working to surprise us, even though we might not think it's from God. We must learn to never doubt God, for God can surprise us. For God's ways are beyond our ways. And the men asked Sarah, "Is anything too hard for God?" And of course, she had to say, "No, we serve a great God, and nothing is too hard for Him." So, should we question God? Well, probably not, even though we may do so from our own humanness. Should we laugh at God? Yeah, probably not. But I think God understands if we do. Learning to live by faith means that we should be prepared for God to do some amazing things in our life. You know, He's that kind of God. He can do amazing things with us, even if it's the small details of our day or a huge surprise in our life. God can bless us, He can surprise us, and He can amaze us. We serve an amazing God. Be open to His surprises today. Be open to the unexpected things that God might bring into your life, and thank Him for them. Like Abraham and Sarah, be people of faith who to expect the unexpected. All right? All right. You have a great day. I'll see you later.